Hjh Nurul, for those, people who are going to study law, can you give us a glimpse on what the career trajectory look like if you are going to be a lawyer? What will go through, after graduation and all that?
Well, I guess for this, you don't have a typical one answer. Yeah. A person's career can be motivated and driven by so many things. And ultimately, it is down to the individual themselves, right? I may have taken a law degree, but I don't practice law. I didn't have that intention to fully pursue the law career because I was curious and I wanted to learn other things and try other things. So when myself, for example, I got a legal qualification, but I ended up being where I am today, a CEO of a telco company. No one would have probably imagined that, but I did get to where I am today by going through a lot of trials, hardship, experience, and my own setbacks. So the experience I had, the challenges I went through, the transitions I went through was what brought me to where I am today. So again, there's no specific glimpse of what a law degree could take you, but obviously if this is something that you're interested in, by all means pursue it. Once you get your bar, you obviously get to practice law, and you can even go all the way up to being a magistrate. So there are so many trajectories, career in the law profession can give you, whether you want to follow the law career itself, pursue it, or you want to branch into other things like myself.
So were you, I know initially on the introduction to yourself, you started as a legal officer, a junior legal officer in companies.
Yeah.
So, has that, background helped you to grow very quickly within your corporations?
Okay, so yes, my legal background equipped me with the basic knowledge I needed to carry out my job when I first started out as a junior legal officer back in 2015. Yeah. So at that time, I was a fresh grad. Like some other fresh grad, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, whether to pursue that career in legal, anything related to it, or try out something totally different. Back then, I remembered applying to Attorney General Chambers, but I didn't hear back. And so I tried applying at that time to a bank. So I thought, why not try private institutions? So I tried to apply to a bank, and I also applied to some government departments. And back then, a new company was setting up, and at that time, it was B-Mobile. So I thought, this is a very interesting company. It's young, it's exciting, it's a challenger to the market. So I thought maybe I should try and apply. So I applied to the bank, the government, and B-Mobile, and in the end got all three job offers. And around the same time, so I was in between two places, and in the end I went for the B-Mobile. So where was I?
So you chose B-Mobile.
Yeah, so I got all three job offers. I was in between the government job and this private company job, which is B-Mobile. And in the end, I picked B-Mobile. And a lot of people were a bit puzzled, like, why would you pick a job that's new, unsecured, and had lower pay compared to a more secured government job?
Why?
Why? Yes, why? People didn't understand. And probably at that time I didn't understand, but it was something about it that excited me, and I always like to do something different. I like to challenge myself from the very early start of my career. So even though, never mind, they didn't understand, but I knew why I wanted it. I wanted to give it a try. And I guess, we can plan, but Allah is the best of planners. And 16 years later, Alhamdulillah, here I am today. So I never regretted my choice one bit. Even if I had to redo everything again, I would have done it the same.
So the last 15 years you were in the telco industry.
Yes, so
Uh-huh.
I have to say,
Have you always been in the legal department? Or
No, well, the first few years I started out, yes, I was in the legal department, made my way up to senior manager, senior legal manager. And then my boss back then thought, hey, because in meetings, I don't like keeping quiet. I never do. So I always like to pitch in. I always like to give my opinion, point of view. And I guess management that time saw something in me and said, hey, why not you try other things? Try to sort of branch out, widen your scope, widen your horizon. Are you up for it? So I said, yeah, why not? So that time I started looking into regulatory matters, which were still related to legal. But then I was also keen on public relations. So my boss then said, why don't you try out being part of the public relations team? So you're dealing more with external communications. And I guess as a company, you need to maintain and uphold the image. So it had to do a bit of a save the save the company image kind of thing. So public relations was something that I branched out into. And then from there on, I just started doing other things. I looked into customer experience as well. So I set up a small department which is looked into loyalty and customer relationship back then. And we looked into events when we were in Be Mobile as well. I don't know whether you've heard of Who's Got Talent and Be Fit. So those are the programs that I came up with
oh, is that right?
during that time. Yes, so it was something on the PR side, just something to try out, and it was a success
You
in my.
always have a good business acumen and a sense for the PR side of things in the company.
Yeah, yes, that's true. And
Uh-huh.
on even on this side, I mean, professions aside, on a personal note, I like socializing. I like meeting people, and I'm always one to also sort of gear up. If it's family event or French, if there are friends that need things, that I always offer myself.
So in essence, this is really interesting, Hjh Nurul. Back when you were a junior legal officer, the leader saw something in you and started, using you as putting you as a management trainee, so to
Mm,
speak, to expose you to
yeah,
different
yeah.
areas.
I didn't have that word then, management
Yeah,
training, but I suppose that
but
would
it's
be
exactly the same thing, isn't it?
exactly the same thing. You
Uh-huh.
try out do other things. So
So as a result, you're very well rounded to be where you are right now. Uh, Hjh Nurul, let's rewind a little bit. I am curious on the job of a legal officer or someone within the legal department within an organization. What exactly do they do?
in the legal department,
Yeah,
well,
in the legal function. So when you first started out
okay,
as a legal officer, I mean, your law training has trained you to do what you did, but what exactly do people do in that department?
okay, well, being the legal, you are the go-to person for advice for the company. If anything goes wrong, or if you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing and make sure things don't go wrong. So being in the legal profession and working in a legal department, you always have to be on top of things. You also have to make sure that you understand the business. Like you said, you need to be an all-rounder. You don't just give the standard boilerplate responses. You need to understand the business, the commercial sense, the business acumen, like you said earlier, in order to be able to give the right feedback and be as efficient and as reliable as you can be to ensure that the company's interest is protected. Yeah. So uh, it sounds boring, but there's quite a lot of things that's involved, and being in the legal department is an interesting profession, and it's something that is also respected in the organization. So because people go to you, people would come to you for advice and
Mhm.
counsel. So you need to make sure that you're always ready, and you give that confidence
So
to.
that's a huge task, Hjh Nurul. uh, to make sure that a company is legally protected. Were you required to do a lot of, drafting and reading of contracts, fine prints and all that?
Yes, well, that's part and parcel of the job.
That's tough.
But we also have we also outsource a lot as well. We partner with we outsource some of our legal work. There are certain things that I may not have the proficiency at or the expertise. So we normally also work with external law firms to support us on that. But in Progressive here, we have a team of 3 in our legal team. So it's not as big, but it's enough to support the ongoing business. But we also have a panel of lawyers that supports us with day-to-day activities.